guys, it's Kelly. I'm back with my first process video for my Creative Scrapbook Kit Club using their August kit, and it is full of fancy pants and a little bit of illustrated faith. And I am just trying to decide on which papers I want, and I pretty much decided on these 4 papers, and I am going to just go from there. This photo is of my daughter being super silly. She had her favorite candy, which are gummy worms, and we had gotten some at the store, and I told her, she could only have one more because, we're going home, we're going to fix dinner, and she pulls out this gigantic mass of gummy worms, and she was like, okay, one more, and, yes, we're in the car, but we were in the neighborhood at the time, so I stopped and made her, stay in the position she was so I could take a picture. So I didn't want you to think that I was taking pictures while I was driving. But yeah, so it's just a funny little memory. This girl loves her anything gummy, and so I just wanted to get this cute little photo on a page. So I am, just kind of debating on what I want to do. A lot of times with my first layout that I make in a kit, I'm just trying to get my way around the kit and figure out what I have and the products that I want to use. And, I decided that I really wanted to have strips of paper, and a lot of these I am either using scissors or trimming a little bit, but I like the torn edge as well, so I want the pieces to have that visual interest of the torn edge. Now this piece of paper by Illustrated Faith, this turquoise with the white hearts, is my absolute favorite. Oh my gosh, it is so sweet. The turquoise color is just like the perfect shade of turquoise, and I knew that I wanted to have a decent amount of that showing. Now with the kit came some Amy Tangerine word thickers, and one of the words was seriously, and I thought that would be the perfect title for this page. So I made that blue heart strip a little bit wider because I knew that I wanted to be able to have something for the title to rest on. So I'm just taking the title and putting it on wax paper. Everybody, it seems like, is doing this trick now. I love it. And I am funny though, I have to trim it pretty tight just so that I can not have to worry about looking through the wax paper. I like to be able to see all of my layers underneath it, and while the wax paper you can see through, it muddies up the picture for me a little bit, so I trim it pretty closely. So I'm going through the ephemera. We got the Fancy Pants ephemera in this kit, and I am just putting out any of the ones that I think may work on the layout, and sometimes I'll put them in the spot that I think they'll go, and other times I'm just sticking them on the page, and the rest are going in a bigger dish that I have on my desk just to house it, so that when I'm working with the kit I know that everything that goes in that bowl is with the kit. So once I get all of these out, I go ahead and I take them off the page just then so I can start playing around with them and seeing what I want, where I want. Now, before I go any further, I decided that I wanted to do a little bit of mixed media on the background, and I didn't want anything to be overwhelming. I wanted something different than a white background. So I'm taking some of my mist, and this one is one by Lindy Stamp Gang, and I cannot see the color up close, but I'm hoping that I paused it enough to where you could read it. And just spraying the background, or spraying the plastic packaging and doing the packaging technique like a lot of people are doing. And because I just wanted a hint of color, you will see me dabbing up some of the mist with my paper towel. And I'm going to come in with 2 other shades of mist. I'm going to come in with Prima Cotton Candy, and this is a darker pink, and it has a little bit of a glimmer to it. I have a couple of these Prima mist, and they are gorgeous. And I I love having the different types of mist that I have because it seems like each one's a little bit different and each one brings a little bit something else to my mists, and I just love the versatility of it. So the last one I'm using is by Shimmers, and I tested that out behind where I knew that the paper layers would go because I did not want anything really dark, and I wanted to make sure that when I blotted it up, it would still be just a hint of that aqua color, aqua slash mint green. It didn't quite match the background, but it brought in a lot of the colors that were in the floral paper, and I just thought it was perfect. So I'm not done with the mixed media, but I'm trying to let that mist dry just a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and mat some tissue paper behind my photo, and I just like the extra layer that it gives. It gives also that white background that I like on my photos. I printed this off with my selfie, and I have not been able to figure out how to get a little bit of a border without it really reducing the size of my photo. So for me, it's just easier, rather than wasting time trying to figure it out, I'll just, mount it on a piece of white cardstock. So when I cut down the layers of tissue paper, one of them wasn't quite secure. So I just took my ATG gun and adhered it to the other, and then I used just some regular craft foam to pop up my photo. I love the dimension and the thickness of that craft foam. It's not terribly thick, so that I feel like, even though it's bringing dimension to my pages, it's not adding a whole lot of bulk. So this is a heart stencil that I've had in my stash, and I'm just taking some light modeling paste, and I wanted to just play up on the theme of the hearts, and I'm just putting some of it through the stencil, just in a diagonal line, just so that you can see bits of it peeking out, from under the paper clusters. And I wanted to have a few more hearts up there, and you saw that I was just very careful with the way that I held the stencil. I don't want to smush the hearts that I've already put modeling paste on. So I've decided that I like the placement of the title and the paper layers in the photo, so I wanted to go ahead and get that adhered down, and I am just going to pull back out. Oh, my daughter, she went to a theme park with a friend, and I told her, I'm like, every now and then just send me a text or send me a photo just so I know that you're okay. Those are the photos that I just got. Like, send me a nice photo, like one that, you're getting ready to get on a ride or something. Instead, I get silly faces, but I will take what I get. So I pulled back out the little pieces of ephemera that I had initially thought would work. I always pull out more than I'm going to use, and you'll see that little heart dish up in that left-hand corner is where all of my rejects are going to go. And I knew that I wanted to use that yellow speech bubble, and that would just, be the perfect place for me to journal and document the little story. And I felt like the left side of the layout needed something to balance it. So that wood grain piece was a branding strip from one of the other papers in the kit. So I went ahead and cut that in half. I knew that I wasn't going to use that full the thickness of the branding strip. These branding strips from Fancy Pants seem to be a little bit wider than normal branding strips, and which I'm fine with because that means more to play with. So I also wanted to bring a pop of that pink over. I had some pink in some of the embellishments and also behind the photo mat, and knew that I wanted to bring pink to that area as well. So one of the die cuts is a doily that came with the ephemera, and it had these little hearts that came out so that you could actually see the doily. And I thought briefly about adding some more hearts, but I just didn't like the way that it was looking, and I didn't want to bring the dark elements in. And I pulled off the flare and I put it back on, and I'm going to eventually just leave it off because it ended up being pretty much the only dark thing on my page, and I just felt like it was very heavy. I know it's not a big amount of black, but it didn't seem right to me, so I will go ahead and take that off as well. So I knew that I wanted that wood strip, and so I'm going to go ahead and get that down, and I am going to end up tucking that label underneath one of the layers, and I am going to put the date on that. I don't do that on camera because the photo is on my phone and I use my phone to record, so I actually have to stop recording to look up the date of the photo so that I can stamp it there. Now the ATG tape does a decent job of holding it down, but at the end and off camera I do use my quick dry adhesive just to adhere some bits and pieces that I don't feel like are sticking down as well. So this is pretty much going to wrap up my layout. I do have a bunch of stills at the end, and that way you can see the close-up of the mixed media, and I just love how it came out. So thanks so much for joining me. I have the details of my creative scrapbook listed in the details below if you'd like to check them out, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.